Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video, I'll show you how to create this slider using a library called SwiperJS. So let's get started. Alright, so here I have created this folder called slider and I just opened it with VS Code. And I also have this folder over here called images where we have these 4 images. And we're going to use this in our slider. So let's go ahead and create the necessary files. So let's create a new file called index.html. Let's create another file called style.css. And let's create one more file called main.js. Right now, let's start with the index.html file. So in VS Code, you can just press exclamation and press tab. And you will have this basic HTML5 code. Right, let's link our CSS file over here. And here in the body, I'll just link the JavaScript file. So let's type main.js. Right now, the first thing we will do is we will go to the SwiperJS website. So you can just go over here to swiperjs.com and go to docs and click on get started. And here we can see we have the get started guide and we can install it using npm. But here we're going to use CDN. So here we have the guide to use SwiperJS using CDN. So the first thing we need to do is we need to copy this link of the SwiperJS CSS file. So let's copy this and let's paste it inside the head tag. And the next thing we need to do is we need to copy this SwiperJS JavaScript file. So let's copy this and we need to add it over here just before this script tag. And now if you go back here, we can see that we have this HTML code. So we need to write some HTML code with a container division. And we need to initialize the swiper object over here. So we will do all of that. Let's go back to our HTML. And here let's start by creating a container division. And let's give it a class of swiper. Now in this, let's create another division. And let's give it a class of swiper wrapper. And in here, we will add all the slides. So here we can see that we have these 3 slides in this example code. So in our case, we have 4 slides. So let's create a division and let's give it a class of swiper slide. And in here, we need to have an image. So let's create an img tag. And here in the source, let's type images /. And we have these 4 images. Let's select the first image. Now let's do the same for all the other slides. So let's copy this and paste it 3 more times. And here for the second one, let's type images /2.jpg. And then we have images /3.jpg and images /4.jpg. And now if we go back here, we can see that we also have this pagination. So for that, we need to create a division over here. So let's go outside this division, which is swiper wrapper. And here, we need to create a division and let's give it a class of swiper pagination. And we can keep it blank and it will be generated using the JavaScript of SwiperJS. Right now, let's go ahead and open this in our browser. And I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you have this extension installed, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And here we can see that our design is displayed in the browser. Right now, we don't have any functionality. So first of all, let's go ahead and add some CSS. So here in the style.css file, let's go ahead and set the margin of the body to 0. And now let's go ahead and target the swiper division. And let's set the width to 100% and let's set the height to 100 viewport height. And let's go ahead and select the swiper slide. So let's type swiper slide. And for this, we will have a max width of 700 pixels. And now we can see that we have a max width of 700 pixels. And we need to also set the height and width for the image. So let's type swiper. And in that, we have the img tag. So let's type width of 100% of the parent and a height of 400 pixels. And let's also type object fit to cover so that the images are not stretched. And now we can see that the images are at the top. So we need to bring the images in the center. So here for the swiper slide, which is the container division for the image, let's type display of flex and align items to the center. And now we can see that the images are in the center. Now to bring the images exactly in the center, we also have to type display of flex. And now the images are exactly in the center. Right, now the last thing we need to do is we need to add the functionality. So for that, let's go to the main.js file, and we need to create a swiper variable, and let's make it a new swiper object. And here we need to pass the selector and some options. So first of all, let's add the selector. So here if you go to the HTML file, here we can see we have this division with the class of swiper. So let's type .swiper. And then we need to add some options. So let's create an object. And the first thing we will do is we will type pagination. And we need to set it to the division that we created for it. So here we can see we have created a division with the class of swiper pagination. So here let's type L. And here we need to type swiper pagination. And now we can see that we have the pagination displayed at the bottom. Now let's go ahead and add the other options. Alright, now the next thing we will do is we will type effect, and we need to set the effect to cover flow. So this is the effect that gives us this 3D sliding effect. And the next thing we will do is we will set the cursor. So let's type grab cursor, and let's set it to true. So now if we hover over this, we can see that we have this grab cursor. And now we can see we also have these shadows for these slides. So let's remove the shadows. So for that you can just type cover flow effect. And here we can add some options. So let's type slide shadows false. And now we can see we don't have the shadows displayed. And now let's go ahead and add slides per view. So this is how many slides should be displayed. So we'll set it to auto. And now if we go back here, we can see that the slides are not centered. So for that you have to type centered slides, and you have to set it to true. And now we can see that the slides are in the center. Now after the last slide, we need to display the first slide over here. So for that we need to type loop, and we need to set it to true. And now we can see that the last slide is displayed, and after that the first slide is also displayed. So we have this loop. Now we can add more options over here inside this cover flow effect. So for example, you can type rotate, and let's set it to 40. And you can also type depth, and let's set it to 300. So this is how it looks right now. Now if you change these options, you will have different effects. So for example, if I change this to, let's try 500, this is how it looks. We can see that we have a lot of depth. Let's just try 1000. So here we can see that all these slides are a lot more behind the current slide. So this is how depth works. So let's set it back to 300. And then we have rotation. So let's try a larger value. Let's type 80. And this is how it works. We can see that it has rotated a lot more. So I'll just set it back to 40. So in this way you can go ahead and change these values and make the slider adapt to your needs. Alright, so that's basically how you can create this slider using the library called SwiperJS. Now this is also responsive. So if we decrease the width of the browser window, we can see that it looks good on smaller devices as well. So that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.